Welcome learners. This unit is about the Shompens of Great Nicobar. After going through the unit, you should be able to have a general understanding of the Shompens of Great Nicobar and knowledge about their life and culture in terms of food habits and social, political and economic organizations.
In this video, we shall discuss about the general understanding of the Shompens of Great Nicobar.
Classified as a primitive tribal group, along with the 4 other tribes, the Shompen, unlike the other primitive tribes of the Andaman Islands, are not of Negrito but of Mongoloid stock. Their light yellow-brown skins, straight hair, narrow eyes and stocky build give them a strong resemblance to the people of Myanmar and Indonesia. Like the Jarawa, they are skilled hunter-gatherers, but unlike them, also raise plantations of various crops such as pandanus and lemon and colocasia. They subsist primarily on these plants, wild boar, wild fruits, honey and fish. Like the Jarawa, they are by and large disease-free. Only 50 years down the line, their lands have been occupied, their forests chopped down, their animals hunted and they themselves outnumbered by people from an alien culture. Unlike the major islands of the Andamans and some Nicobar Islands, Great Nicobar was by and large undisturbed by incursions of outsiders until the late 1960s. The Shompen lived in the interior of the island, inside the forest and along the rivers. The Nicobaris lived along the coast to the north of the island. The 2 tribes lived in a kind of armed truce after intermittent skirmishes. A major influx of population started in 1969 with the settlement of several hundred ex-servicemen from the mainland on the southeastern coast of Great Nicobar and a proposal to settle several hundred more on the western coast. Even more damaging, the east-west road, measuring 43 km in length, was constructed through pristine Shompen territory. Thus, a tribal reserve area under the Andaman and Nicobar Protection of Aboriginal Tribes Regulation 1956 was open to outsiders.
Shrinking reserve area.
The reserved area in Great Nicobar, which initially covered the whole island, 1044.54 square kilometer as per the notification dated 2nd April 1957 issued by the Chief Commissioner of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, has been reduced to 853.19 square kilometer. The population of outsiders has been growing steadily since 1969, while the number of the Shompen, which is alarmingly low, has remained stagnant or is shrinking. According to the census, the population of the Shompen was 212 in 1971, 223 in 1981, 131 in 1991, 398 in 2001 and 229 in 2011. According to Census 2011, male constitutes 61.5% of total population. These figures are, of course, estimations and discrepancies, particularly in the last figure, are quite obvious as the Shompen, being forest-dwelling, nomadic hunter-gatherers and averse to the entry of others into their settlements, do not lend themselves to easy or accurate counting. Several development activities are currently happening in Great Nicobar, all with an inevitable deleterious impact on the Shompen. Some are security related given the strategic location of Great Nicobar almost at the southern end of India and its proximity to many international shipping routes. Such activities cannot perhaps be avoided.
3 dangers.
But The three issues that pose the greatest danger to the Shompen are not defense or security related. The burgeoning population of outsiders, the renovation and continued construction of the east-west road through the heart of the Shompen Reserve, and the free food and other items being given to the Shompen by the government. Even though Great Nicobar was severely affected by the 2004 tsunami, it does not seem to have had any permanent impact on the number of people who wish to live there. The population today has grown considerably from that in 2001. Apart from the impact on the Shompen, the numbers need to be controlled and reduced from the point of view of the island's carrying capacity. The island's ecology will definitely be destroyed by such large numbers, and so will the people who live in harmony with it. The construction and repair of the east-west road is an even greater threat to the Shompen. This road, which had been constructed long ago and abandoned, fell into disrepair and was not used for several decades. Indeed, there was no real need to maintain it since the settlement on the western coast, which the road was supposed to link, never came up. Since the tsunami, however, repair work on a lot of structures was taken up, including the east-west road. Thus, the Shompen are faced with the renewed danger of incursions into their territory. Moreover, the laborers from the mainland bring with them a totally different culture. Even more worrisome, they bring diseases to which the Shompen have little or no immunity. Such diseases can spread like an epidemic, as happened some years ago when diarrhea killed a large number of the tribe. But by far, the most damaging activity is the administration's practice of doling out free rations. This has been in operation for some years, but increased after the tsunami, in the mistaken belief that the Shompen were being protected from hunger and starvation. The Shompen, who are a totally self-sufficient hunter-gatherer grower people living on wild animals, fruit, tubers, fish, and honey, are being given rice and biscuits and alien food products. They are also being given cloth, though the Shompen have an ancient tradition of making cloth out of tree bark, which they wear swathed around their waists. Thus, an insidious culture of dependency is being created, undermining the self-sufficiency of these people.
Specialized handling?
The issues of the tribes of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are so different from that of other tribes that it calls for extremely sensitive and specialized handling. Unfortunately, most senior officials in the Andamans and Nicobar come to the islands from the mainland for a brief period and do not have a clue about the approach required for these rare heritage tribes. When there is a conflict between the interests of the few hundred tribal people and that of the few lakh people who have settled there, the administration tends to decide in favor of the larger number. Though such decisions might have a direct and extremely adverse impact on the primitive tribal groups, such officials also resist any kind of sensitization. Unless the administration wakes up to the fact that they have a very uncommon and precious commodity in the form of these heritage primitive tribes, one that needs extremely delicate and sensitive handling, it is more than likely that these few hundred people will in due course disappear.
Background information of Shompens.
Shompens are one of the most primitive tribes of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and constitute 1/6 of its total population. The Shompen tribe is one of the dwindling Mongoloid aborigines, and presently it is an ethnic oddity. It is a forest-dwelling tribe inhabiting the Great Nicobar Island, which constitutes the home of Shompens. However, the island does not provide much clue about the origin of the Shompens. Probably, they might have migrated several years back from the nearby Malaysian regions and made the Great Nicobar Island their home. Shompens are semi-nomadic food gatherers and hunters with Stone Age civilization. They live in small groups in the dense interior forests of the island. Being suspicious and shy, they have rejected all contacts with the outside world. However, they are not hostile. They are well built and taller than the Nicobaris. They have slightly dark complexion and their features, especially their noses and jaws, are quite prominent. The term Shompen might be the outcome of the British pronunciation of the Nicobari term Shamhap, meaning one who lives in forests. The Nicobaris call them Shompehan and Champion. Perhaps Shompens are the last remnants of the Malay race who maintains a separate existence in dense forests and have their primitive culture and own language. Like the great Andamanis and the Onges of the Andaman Islands, the Shompens are a dying race being ravaged by diseases and a primitive way of life. Among their economic activities related to subsistence, the major ones are hunting, fishing, food gathering, and pig rearing. Hunting and fishing are mostly carried out throughout the year, though the 1981 census enumerated their population to be 214. Subsequently, their number reduced to 134. As an epidemic break of gastroenteritis eliminated nearly 100 individuals. However, their population, according to the 2001 census, has risen to 395. Till the end of the 19th century, the Nicobar archipelago remained isolated from all points of view. It was annotated with phrases like the paradise of the pirates or the land of the naked people. This island represents one of the greatest emporia of ethnobotanical wealth, where aboriginal native tribes of ancient culture remain in their virginity. Shompens are the original inhabitants of the Great Nicobar Island, which is the southernmost island of the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago. The island covers an area of about 1045 square kilometer and is about 55 kilometers long from Murray Point in the north of Indira Point in the south. The island represents a varied natural panorama of Great Nicobar Island. It is covered with virgin lush, evergreen, dense tropical forests extending from the seacoast to the hilltops. The island occupies a phytogeographical strategic position between the mainland, Myanmar and Thailand on the one hand, and Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula on the other. The island is highly rugged with narrow flatland along the seacoast and hill ranges running in north-south direction. 5 perennial rivers, Alexandra, Dogmer, Amritkaur, Jubilee and Galatia, with their tributaries constitute the main drainage system of the island. The soils of the island are loose in texture, poor in drainage and low in moisture retaining capacity. The climate is that of the humid tropics with temperature ranging from 22 degrees centigrade to 32 degrees centigrade with mean relative humidity of about 82%. Annual rainfall in the northern part of island is 3,800 millimeters, while in south it is about 3,000 mm. April is the hottest month of the year. Rainy season begins in April and continues up to December. January to March have more or less dry weather. The island is subjected to gales and cyclonic winds blowing west to east and east to west. The Shompens were the sole occupants of the Great Nicobar Island until the arrival of the settlers. They are entirely dependent on forest resources and sea products for all their needs. In the present work, Ethnobotanical aspects pertaining to food, medicine, shelter, hunting, and canoe making are presented. The Shompens are found to depend on rhizomes, bulbs, tubers, roots, and fruits of wild plants present in the surrounding forests. Animal-based diet of the Shompens included several kinds of fishes, turtles, lobsters, prawns, mussels, octopus, wild pigs, eggs of megapod birds, and wood insects. The men generally go out for fishing, hunting, food gathering, and honey collection. The Shompens like hunting wild pigs in the forests of Great Nicobar Island. They also hunt monkeys, crocodiles, frogs, snakes, birds, and lizards. Their fishing and hunting are of the most primitive type. They use harpoons made of pointed iron rods for fishing and hunting turtles and crocodiles. For hunting wild pigs, monitor lizards, snakes, and monkeys, they use spears and hatchets. The food collected becomes the property of the whole community, and the women usually prepare food for the men. Fruits of Pandanus leram Jones form the staple food. The Shompens use several wild plants for treating various physical ailments. Methods of application are simple, as in most cases, the Shompens simply chew a particular plant either raw or at times it is pounded and applied externally. Plant decoction is also used. However, no attention is given to the quantity of plant parts used in the prescription. The Shompens build temporary huts propped on stilts 2 to 6 meters above the ground. Inside the huts, crude mats made from pandanus and cane strips are used, and leaves of Lea grandifolia curls serve as bed sheets, while a piece of bamboo is often used as pillow. The Shompens prepare indigenous dugouts or canoes called horis, which are of two types. Small canoes having carrying capacity of 2 or 3 persons are used for crossing creeks and rivers. Big canoes having carrying capacity of 2 to 7 persons are used for transportation and fishing in the sea. These canoes, which vary in size from 6 to 10 feet, are generally fixed with an outrigger for balance and move using paddles. The Shompens appear to be an intermediate group between the Andamanis, hunter and food gatherers, and the Nicobaris, gardeners and herders, as they combine their food gathering and hunting habits with some gardening and herding as well. The Shompens generally live in places close to a drinking water source and where abundant pandanus fruits are available, which form their staple food. The Indian region, with its innumerable tribes and ethnic groups, offers ample scope for ethnobotanical studies. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are the abode of hunter-gatherer nomadic tribes leading a contented life with limited forest resources. The Nicobaris live closer to the coast and are sea-dependent, while the Shompens are forest dwellers. Thus, their lifestyles blend harmoniously with nature and they are considered as eco-friendly people. The Shompens, like many other tribes, suffer from various ailments like malaria, microfilaria, elephantiasis, and other fatal diseases. Strangely, no tribal medicines for such diseases exist amongst them. Ironically, these ailments, together with lower population of females, low birth rate, high rate of infant mortality, malnutrition, have placed the Shompens almost on the verge of extinction. During the last 2 decades, the Tribal Welfare Directorate of the Andaman and Nicobar Administration and Botanical and Anthropological Surveys of India, Port Blair, are involved in studying and documenting the different dwindling socio-cultural, ethnobotanical, and historical aspects of the Aboriginal tribes of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, respectively.
We will continue to discuss in detail about the life and culture in terms of food habits and social, political, and economic organizations of the Shompens in the subsequent videos.